in the words of Aaron Rodgers himself all throughout the show. Well, what about Broncos quarterback, my Mizzou kid, Drew Lock? What about him? He's already in a quarterback competition with the newly acquired Teddy Bridgewater. And he said he has been avoiding any Rodgers-related rumors. He was asked if people around him tell him what is being said in the media and how it's playing out.
I wouldn't say so. I'd like to think that the reason why no one said anything to me is because those are probably my really close people in my life, and they understand that it's not worth their time either. Okay. Whatever happens, happens. They know I'm working hard, and that's all they're concerned about, not what's being said here, what's being said there, what's being said here. And if anyone did say something to me, I mean, it was a zero text back or a no call back because they probably weren't even in my really tight circle, and there was no need for me to respond.
All right, time for believe it or not. Oh, that didn't work. No. Okay, so James, I'm going to go to you and start. I like Drew Lock. I think he has mental fortitude. I think he is a mentally tough kid that does surround himself with people and can block out the noise. I believe that. Believe it or not, though, Drew Lock truly isn't fazed by this Aaron Rodgers rumor mill.
I believe it. I believe it, Kay. I know Drew pretty well. We've talked a lot over the last couple of years that he's been in Denver. And I was hearing even from people inside the building back when the Deshaun Watson rumors were first starting, before everything off the field started with him and the rumors about the Broncos being tied with Deshaun Watson, that wasn't really phasing Drew Lock. This is a mindset that he has had throughout this offseason. You mentioned him being kind of a mentally tough kid. That is kind of his makeup. And I think it gives you a little extra, added confidence in yourself when you have the back of Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning and him have been watching film this offseason together. He has a lot of confidence in Drew Lock. I think one of the greatest players of all time having your back and talking to you regularly definitely gives you some added confidence. But I also like the approach that he had this offseason. He had a small group, as you heard him say. The only news he really gets is from Andy. That's what he calls his dad, which is, I think, absolutely fantastic. He says, Andy will tell me some things that my teammates tell me about myself that I can go up and make sure I talk to them and give them a compliment or a thank you if they came out and praised me in some capacity. But also his approach this offseason was this. It wasn't, how do I be the best quarterback for the Denver Broncos? It's, how do I be the best quarterback this offseason, no matter where it is, whether there's competition, whether I'm playing somewhere else, whether I'm the starter in Denver, and that's unquestioned. I'm going to do everything in my power to make me a better quarterback. And Sean, so focusing on himself was really his entire offseason, not being a Broncos quarterback. It's being a better quarterback, and he didn't care where it was.
Yeah, it sounds to me like he's hyper-focused, so I believe it, and I'm with you. And once you get into the NFL and you get into year 2, get into year 3, you really start trying to hone your craft. And blocking out the outside noise is something that quarterbacks, they've been doing for a long time. And once you get in the NFL, you don't listen to the radio, you don't turn on the news, you don't pick up the papers or look at the websites. You block it out, you focus. And I think the fact that he has found a way to meet with Peyton Manning, whether it's just a conversation, whether it's, hey, let's watch some video together, let's watch some film, what are you seeing? The fact that you have that kind of pedigree around you, got John Elway in the building as well, I think he's got enough things to help him work on each one of those little skills. Forget about Aaron Rodgers. He's not even in the building. That's gossip right now to him. If you want to talk about someone that's in the building, Teddy Bridgewater, the fact that Teddy is there and he's going to be competing and fighting for reps and also learning from him, I think that's much more of a factor for Drew Lock. But I like the way he's handled it. I like his mindset. I like his focus. I like his desire to be great, because that's a big part of quarterback. It's not about the arm, the physical attributes. It's all up here when you're a quarterback.
He's just got to get to week 1. It's a race to week 1. I thought in free agency they might be big active players in trying to get a quarterback of a better caliber than what he's put on film the last few years. I thought in the draft with Justin Fields and Mac Jones on the board, they might have gone quarterback there. They didn't. The Bridgewater trade, he and Bridgewater to me are just like this. But, we're talking about Peyton Manning, who was the first overall pick and a first ballot Hall of Famer. We're talking about John Elway, who was a first overall pick and a Hall of Famer. Drew Lock was a second round pick. His entire career has been proving people wrong. So his mindset, what he's built about, what his character is it's got scar tissue of, all right, you're not a first round pick. You're going to slip to the second round pick, and we're going to have 3 quarterbacks taken before you in your draft class. All right, you're probably not going to be the best quarterback for the Broncos. They're going to look to replace you. All right, again, like he doesn't need any more motivation to get going here. And Aaron Rodgers certainly isn't going to be what drives him. But I would say this, if I look at the 32 quarterback rooms across the NFL, as much as we like Drew Lock's character, based on what we've seen and the success that he's had in the NFL, I don't know if it's in the top third, maybe the top quarter of the NFL, that quarterback room. And the rest of that team with the defense, the receivers, and what they've got coming from that defensive backfield, it might be in the top half. So he needs to get better this year and just needs to get to week 1 as their starter and then try to hold on to that job for dear life.
I mean, Locke's a kid who showed on Instagram, unprompted, when I was on Instagram Live with him last year, that he carries around his draft card with him still as a representation, as a symbol that he always has with him in the same spot of how he fell and slipped out of that first round. So motivation, something that certainly he has, and hopefully he can act on wherever he's playing this year. All right. More importantly, today's Mike Myers'
What do we got?
58th birthday. One of my favorite, yes, it's a huge milestone, 5'8". I mean, the big 5'8". One of my favorite memories of Peter Schrager, because it's so rare. Schrags, we see people of great pedigree and accomplishment a lot together over the years. We're very fortunate. You saw Mike Myers in London on a red carpet with you and I have never seen you geek out quite so much. Do you remember this? Obviously you do.
I fangirled. Is that the word?
You geeked out.
Bohemian Rhapsody for me.
Wing!
And there's Remy Malik and whoever else, and everyone's taking photos, and Nate and Kyle are posing, taking selfies of themselves, and then Mike Myers walks by, and I fell down. Mike Myers is an icon, Kay. So yes, that was the first whatever. But go on. What do we got? 50th birthday. What do you have?
I have never seen you like that ever. I think I called him Michael Myers, and then I was dead in the water. Okay. Mike Myers, happy birthday to you. Love you. Big fan. Strags is a fangirl. A big deal. Believe it or not, Sean O'Hara, Austin Powers is the best character Mike Myers has played. So I Married an Axe Murderer is pretty good.
It is.
Okay, listen, I love everything about Mike Myers. Shrakes, I would have been right there with you going full Geek Squad over Mike Myers. And I think when I look back at Wayne's World, that was such a cool moment. Kay, I believe it. Look, Austin Powers, I think if anybody that can make a character with awful teeth, silly glasses, and an unbelievable bush of chest hair coming out of his shirt, you can make that sexy, you can make that sell, then you've done a great job. So I love everything about Austin Powers. Goldmember might be my favorite version of this.
Whoa!
I'll throw some of that on there too. You're looking very tight pants, Palmer. I think when you put in Fatty B with that as well, and let's just not, Dr. Evil was pretty special. So it's not just Austin Powers, it's him playing Dr. Evil. I mean, throw me a freaking bone here. The amount of quotes that came out of Dr. Evil that we're still using today, or at least I am, is pretty special.
Do you guys know what Sprockets is? Sprockets
yes.
is
This is the time on Sprockets when we dance.
James, I think you're dressed like Dieter right now. What you're dressed like, that black tight turtleneck look. So Sprockets was a West German talk show, and he was the host, and he was dressed in all tight black, and he would come in there and he would talk about German art culture from the 1980s, and he would, and now we dance, and he had a little pet monkey. Would you like to touch my monkey? Sprockets, Dieter, Mike Myers for the win. Happy birthday, big fella. New York guy, by the way, Kay. I see him walking around sometimes. Every time I'm in awe.
Okay, I like that. And Peter, I also like Simon. I thought Simon was great on SNL too, specifically the sketch with Danny DeVito.
I forgot about Simon.
Him and Danny DeVito in a bathtub was just gold. But I am going to say I do believe Austin Powers is his best character. I agree with Kay. Huge fan of So I Married an Axe Murderer. But that cult classic, if he doesn't make this series of movies with Austin Powers, I'm not sure we're talking about him on this show right now, because the big 5'8's a big deal for Mike Myers, and that's why he's getting talked about, because this series and how he went about it kind of changed comedy. I think this movie and Something About Mary are the two hardest movies I've ever laughed in a movie theater in my entire life. And I also would put up there that the combination of both the way the dialogue's done and the way the humor is done in that manner, but also the physical comedy in that movie series as well. I think he kind of touched on everything and just crushed it. And I'm with John. I think Dr. Evil might be a little bit above Austin Powers in terms of the characters in that.
Got a bag full of
Dr. Evil fan
with your name on it.
Mm-hmm. Such analysis. No love for Wayne's World. No love for Shrek. Shrek's pretty good. He's pretty good in Shrek.
That was supposed to be Chris Farley.
Let us know at GM.